You know, we're in for a treat today. I have the pleasure of introducing a true Rotary friend who is an inspiration not only for me, but for all Rotarians. There is a long list of accomplishments located in the program for our speaker this morning, past Rotary International Director Larry Lunsford. He has a truly impressive Rotary career, and the accomplishments reflect that fact. But he is also a reflective and positive thinker who sometimes sees things in Rotary and in life itself that some of the rest of us may miss. Rotarians and guests, please welcome past Rotary International Director Larry Lunsford.
I'm walking, hear the need, I'm talking, about you and me, I'm hoping that you come back to me. I'm lonely as I can be, I'm waiting for your company, I'm hoping that you come back to me.
Good morning. This is a tremendous privilege, and I hope to do my part this morning to share with you as we start Super Saturday of the Institute here in Springfield after Fantastic Friday. And I should have thought about the alliteration for Thursday, but you know, it's already Saturday, right? So, and I know it'll be a big day. I know it's college football game day, and some of you have already come up to me and said, hey, it's game day, and some of you are bold enough to wear your colors and all that sort of thing. But let me reflect with you early on here for just a moment that I'm always just as excited as I can be when I'm with each of you, and I'm on a real high today because for probably the last 15 years, in the beauty of opportunities to speak and asked to provide bios, I've included in my bio at the very end, waiting patiently for the day that the Kansas City Chiefs will win the Super Bowl. Yeah, and so I draw upon all the fandom in your hearts, right? To say that as I stand here today in week 1, I believe it's going to happen, okay? I believe it. After Thursday night's game against the Patriots. So, hey, timing is everything, and I don't have any idea what I'm going to say to you, but the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl this year, okay? It is fantastic to be together again as Zones 30 and 31 at another institute, and I'm thankful to my dear friend and convener, Greg. You know, we're governor classmates together, and we've done a little bit of Rotary through the years, Greg, and I'm privileged that the committee's asked me to be Plan B today. And I'm going to describe that to you here for just a second. But it's always nice to stand in front of all these flags that we represent, some of the flags of the Rotary world. And today to speak about a topic that is each one of us, past district governor leadership. Past district governor leadership and how we integrate past district governors into our districts, and hopefully more importantly, how can we sprinkle all of you, all of us, back through our clubs again? Because as we mentioned just briefly yesterday in an afternoon session on membership, our clubs need us. And so for a few minutes this morning, I'm going to reflect on that with you. At the outset, let me also say that when I reflect and say the term past district governor or PDG, I'm speaking to each and every one of the spouses and partners. I'm speaking to the rest of you that are in the room that are hoping one day to be a PDG, okay? Looking already forward in a big way to that time. So we're all in this together. And in due time, friends, for those of you still on the track, it'll come, and it's a great place. You know, the pension's at least twice the pay of the district governor, right? So let me start by simply saying thank you to each of you, because I'm not sure when the last time somebody said thank you for serving as a district governor of Rotary International. Thank you for serving as a district governor or soon to be district governor of Rotary International. What a privilege to join this impressive list of speakers. You know, I was going to say, can't quite say it today, that Rotary is the only place. Yesterday, that big 40-foot photo, I'm not sure where it is right now, was over here, and it was next to the one for Jackie Joyner Kersey. And friends, it only in Rotary that could a young guy from Macon, Missouri be up, 14 feet from a banner of Jackie Joyner Kersey. That is absolutely certain. So I look forward to celebrating you here today, because we need to review and reflect about the part that we all play in improving the human condition in the heart of America and around the world. So, as I mentioned, playfully, I'm Plan B today. The presentation itself then, I hope, becomes, in a small way, an example of PDG leadership, right? Stepping in when there's a void, or there's a gap, or there's a need. So in fairness, our convener and director, Greg, and our tremendous Institute Chair, Ed, had hoped to have another Rotary colleague. His name is Peter Davey, past president of Rotary International in Great Britain and Ireland. We refer to that as RIBI. Here today to present this topic to you. I've worked a little bit on my British accent, but you won't hear any of it today. And about 3 months ago, the Institute Planning Committee learned that Peter would not be able to attend this institute, and for some reason they reached out to me. And as many of you who know me well would know, I've been thinking about all of you and this moment ever since. I appreciate the trust of the Planning Committee. So let's ensure we make the most of these few minutes together. I hope you will partner with me in that way. These institutes allow you to share your journey and story with me and add to mine, and I hope in a small way this morning my story and my journey can add to yours. Peter Davey is a good Rotary friend of mine as well, and so of course I reached out to him to let him know I'd be happy to embrace and incorporate his message into my message today. Unfortunately, he told me he hadn't started yet. So to properly acknowledge that Peter could well have been standing here today and could well have had his picture on one of these 40-foot banners, I share with you part of his response to me. I was looking forward to Greg's Institute and very sorry to pull out, but as you know, that trip proved impracticable this year. We hope to be able to visit again the USA next year. Greg invited me after he saw me speak at a district conference here in the United Kingdom in my role as president of RIBI, which I believe was 2 years ago. That was an unscripted speech, as most were that year, and as you're certainly going to get today, about the need for clubs to take all the opportunities available now to develop their membership and become attractive to the next generation. I was reassuring my audience in the UK of mainly club Rotarians that our values don't change, so we are still Rotary, but making it clear that if they want Rotary service in their towns to survive, the way that they do Rotary must change. Less talking, less formality, more doing, more flexibility, etc. You know all of that, so I don't need to go on. And you know all of that. I haven't written anything for the Institute yet, but did exchange correspondence with Woody Northup in an effort to understand the local situation. I concluded that the zones were pretty much in the same situation as the UK was a few years ago. I first wrote more than 10 years ago about the fact that Rotarians were doing a great job in service, but needed to do more to secure a stronger future for Rotary. Our problem started well before that, but leaders didn't address it. Now it is proving far more difficult because of our age profile. Remember the context here in the United Kingdom. Ian spoke about that yesterday. The age of our membership sets our image in the minds of those who may be potential members, so that when a potential member comes along, they may not like what they see. Some of us have given our all in trying to change things, but it's a Herculean task. I will continue to work on the things that I set in motion 2 years ago as RIB president. Some are bearing fruit at last. So as I began to contemplate this topic, past district governor leadership, in our districts. It made me reflect on the influences of past district governors in my own life. I feel confident you can share in that statement, that you too have been positively impacted by the influences of past district governors. I was most fortunate to be shaped early in my Rotary journey by the influences of past district governors. There was past District Governor Ray Klingensmith, whose call to a banking friend in my hometown Rotary Club of Macon, Missouri, during my college years, led to that club's sponsorship of my application for and eventual selection as a Rotary Foundation Ambassadorial Scholar. Many of you know that I am a beneficiary of the Rotary Foundation, and I wanted to check to see whether there's any other ambassadorial scholars in the room today. Are there any? Please stand. Liz, Ray, thank you. Thank you.
Where did you go, Larry?
Australia's sons, let us rejoice, for we are young and free. And I won't go on, but thank you. That was a constant reminder, and is a constant reminder, of the influence of a past district governor. Then there was, thank you, Ian, past district governor Stan Bull in Australia, who was my host counselor in 1982 for my ambassadorial scholarship year. Stan and his wife Meg showed me what a daily international immersion to Rotary looked like at 22 years old. They were diligent hosts to me as a graduate student making his first trip away from the United States. Stan Bull in Australia had an unbelievable influence as a past district governor. When our family, Jill and I, our son Trent, who at the time was 5, our daughter Kara, who at the time was 3, we went to Australia for a return trip in 2000 to the Sydney Olympics. And I made a point to go visit Stan and Meg. Again, it was 18 years later. They were somewhat elderly at the time I was there in 82. And I made a point to go see Stan and Meg. They picked me up from the train, spent the night with them in their home, including evening tea. The next morning, Stan drove me to a place where I was meeting other friends to attend an Olympic event that day. I remember vividly sitting in the front of his car as it was time to leave, and both of us realizing this was likely the last time we would see each other. I know how I felt in that moment, and I was reminded of the unbelievable influence of a past district governor. One other early influence that I'll share came from past district governor Dick Burnett, who took a call when I was looking for my first Rotary Club to join and call my own, who placed a call on my behalf to a member of the Kansas City Plaza Rotary Club, a club I joined 26 years ago. Shortly thereafter, Dick served as Rotary International Director, and he has certainly served as one of my Rotary mentors for the past 20 years. In recent years, Dick's eyesight started to fail, as did his health, but nothing ever affected his demeanor. When I define a true gentleman, I use the name Dick Burnett. Though many of you never had the chance to meet Dick Burnett, and while it is always hard to attach any of Rotary's greatest new ideas to just one person, it is often acknowledged today on this Rotary Foundation Day with our institute that Dick Burnett was one of the principal architects of the Peace Centers program. As he led the delegation of Rotarians around the world visiting and selecting the universities that are a part of our Rotary Peace Centers program. At the Sao Paulo International Convention 2 years ago in 15, the Rotary Foundation was selling new ties symbolizing the Rotary Peace Centers. This came at a time when I was about to finish my 2-year term as your director, and I'd been planning to go see Dick after I finished that term to thank him for his mentorship through the years and to share some experiences of having served as a director together. It was perfect timing, so I bought a tie for myself and I bought another tie to give to Dick. It was awesome to go visit him and to give him that tie, a Rotary Peace Center's tie, to the architect of the Rotary Peace Center's program. That visit was the last time I saw Dick. Thursday, 2 days ago, as Jill and I were preparing to leave Kansas City to come here, I was informed that Dick had passed away on Monday. I know how I felt in that moment. And I was reminded of the unbelievable influence of a past district governor. So today, with you, there was only one tie I could wear. This Rotary Peace Center's tie. What I find even more interesting about that confluence of time is that big photo over there, I have the same tie on. So we just get started and we think about and reflect about, and I hope you are thinking about not only those that influenced you as a past district governor, but begin to think about yourself, right? And the unbelievable influence that you have on others. There's one other quick influence I'd like to try to share with you very briefly, and that comes from another past district governor, and it was the first time I sat before the nominating committee as district governor in our Rotary district. First time, I think I was about 40 years old, and I'm a little intimidated in that setting, I must say, and I walk into the interview room, and the first question starts and the second question starts, and one of the past district governors on the nominating committee looks at me and leans forward and says, "Do you have any idea how much time it takes to serve as district governor?" About like that, because I remember it really well, okay? And what I wanted to do was lean right back at him and say, "Do you have any idea how much time I want to give to Rotary?" But I didn't do that. Whoa is right. I didn't do that. And it didn't matter anyway because I didn't get selected, so it was all good in the end. But you know what? That question was one of the most unbelievable influences to me from a past district governor, because it helped me define and realize, honestly, friends, how much time I did want to give to Rotary. So you never know where these influences are going to come from. Fortunately, the third time was the charm for me, and I got selected to serve as district governor, and it was a beautiful, beautiful experience. So there are lots of influences. Now, I have to reflect back on the fact that I did have another birthday in August, and I got the neatest birthday card from our daughter, Kara. In it was her handwritten message on the card, and she wrote one line that fits perfectly for us here today. I'm not sure it was true about me, but I know it's true about you. She said, "No one is as thoughtful, caring, and invested as you." So, of course, after thanking her for that, I gave her a big hug and immediately asked her what she wanted, right? I mean, some of you know Kara, and I mean that, okay? She's beautiful, but no one is as thoughtful, caring, and investing as you. Can I look at all of you and say, no one is as thoughtful, caring, and invested as you? When I read that word invested, it stuck for me for the last 3 weeks. It stuck with me, thinking about all of you and thinking about this time, but also knowing, because I've talked to many of you, knowing that sometimes it's really true that it's hard to stay as invested as you were when you served as district governor. Can I see some head nods? It's hard to stay as invested, isn't it, as that year when you served as district governor. And that's why we have a few moments here today. How do we keep our PDGs invested when our Rotary clubs really need their help? Here's the remainder of the reply I got from Peter. Again, I never got any real, context, right? He hadn't yet started, but he said, "So as to the topic set by Greg and Ed, my thinking," I love this paragraph, I love these words, "my thinking is that we need far more positive and supportive leadership at local levels. Many Rotarians may be keen to embrace change within their club, but they need help as they embark on that challenge. Typically, they look to their club president for leadership, and the president may see help from the assistant governor, but does he or she have the skills and experience? Many PDGs could do more if they knew that they were valued and required to help our clubs develop. Many PDGs could do more if they knew they were valued and required to help our clubs to develop. There are so many more opportunities now for innovation, but some elder Rotarians resist on the grounds of the past. If PDGs show that they welcome the developments and opportunities and are willing to help club leaders to embrace these opportunities, perhaps we could accelerate progress. We invest in developing DGs, and as PDGs, they could make a greater contribution if we harness their leadership skills, and Rotary experience. So it's this connection that we need to continue to develop. Now, as we continue to move forward, I want to quickly just develop it with a show of hands. It makes me then think about how are we engaging past district governors, formally or informally. I mean, we all can go to the places that we know that we serve, the titles that we have, the name badges that we wear. Those are places where we tangibly keep going in our Rotary service. But how do we formally do that in any way? And I know that there are some districts that have either a College of Governors or a Council of Governors. How many? I mean, most. If there are districts here that don't formally have a council or a College of Governors, because I think there may be some, that's one place to start. Then, of course, we have the fellowship of PDGs that our dear friend and past president Ray Klingensmith continues to try to inspire us with those opportunities, and this was in our packet of Institute information as we arrived. But as you might expect, I've also got a few ideas. Maybe it's time to relaunch a speakers bureau of past district governors in your district as a tangible way to sprinkle this PDG leadership back through the clubs. Maybe it's time to reconnect with the international travel opportunities within Rotary. Places you've all been before in Rotary, maybe it's time to reconnect. Becoming more invested in these final days of polio eradication by finally taking that trip on a polio national immunization day. Many of you have done that. That is one of the top things on my list. I'm not sure when I'm going to get that put together, but I've never had that experience. And that's a missing part of my Rotary journey in my own Rotary heart. Maybe you'll become more invested in your district and global grants. Maybe it's time for you to be the person that visits that project in that country and then comes back and shares about that to your clubs. Of course, we've got some wonderful international conventions coming up, and of course, to a certain extent, this is the choir of attendance at institutes and the choir that attends conventions. But certainly, Ian, Juliet, there's a convention in Toronto coming up next June. Yes. And followed by Hamburg, followed by Honolulu, followed by Taipei, Taiwan, followed by Houston, Texas. So that's the landscape of coming. You start getting your calendars out, whether it's the pocket planner that Lee showed you or whether it's that beautiful Samsung 8, right? But it's time to start thinking about that. And you know what? Speaking of Houston, maybe it's time in your district for a PDG or a committee of PDGs to serve as disaster relief coordinators. In these moments, which right now are happening with incredible frequency, our natural instinct is to help immediately. As a PDG who was governor during 9/11, I know what it's like to immediately coordinate the desire of Rotarians to immediately reach out. Do each of your districts have a donor advised fund specifically for disaster relief? It could be time even this weekend to get this rolling in your district as we become familiar with the names Harvey, Irma, and Jose. Perhaps it's time for you to reconnect in an invested way in the work of the Rotary Foundation. I expect that if we took an inventory of most districts, that along the way, some point in time, you've held something like what's called $1 million dinner. I don't know when the last time was. I don't know when the first time will be. But you do. And that's an excellent way for all of us to remain invested in Rotary. We just did one last year in our district, and our organization structure included 2 PDGs in honorary leadership, 6 PDGs on the planning committee, and we utilized table captains, and we had 17 table captains, and 6 of them were PDGs. Now I need Ian's help on the math, but 2 and 6 and 6 is 14, and that's one way that 14 PDGs were invested again in this service work of Rotary. Efforts like that speak directly into one of my most famous phrases that I try to include in each speech, which I will say to you again today, that we're required to display the vision that says we'll never underestimate the capacity of the Rotarians in our Rotary clubs. And $1 million dinner effort is a beautiful illustration of never underestimating the capacity of the Rotarians in your Rotary clubs. Then I got a little wild and crazy, okay? And I thought, okay, we have this calendar of special observances in Rotary, okay? There's a list that you can print, right? So everybody knows what November is, right? In Rotary. Rotary Foundation Month. You know what August is? Membership Month. So we have this whole list. September, Basic Education and Literacy. October, Economic and Community Development. World Polio Day on the 24th of October. World Interact Week. The Rotary Foundation Month. Disease Prevention and Treatment Month. January is Vocational Service Month. February is Peace and Conflict Prevention and Resolution Month. February 23rd, we celebrate our birthday. March is Water and Sanitation Month. There's a week in March for World Rotaract Week. April's Maternal and Child Health Month. I know you know all these things. May is Youth Service Month. June is Rotary Fellowships Month. Why wouldn't we engage 15 past district governors? I just listed 15 things there in 15 seconds. Why wouldn't we ask 15 PDGs in our district to take that framework that really kind of defines all or nearly all of what we do and organize ourselves around that and organize our clubs around that? Goal, creating greater public image, more connectivity with clubs, more focus in moments, which we need as organized leaders. I don't know, it's a wild and crazy idea, but because, you know, most of us here, it's probably fair to say, are still pretty close to fully invested. But sometimes for others, and maybe for yourself, it seems that there just aren't enough opportunities to go around. So I was reminded of a fairly recent conversation I had with one of my past district governor friends. We were talking actually about coming to this institute, and I mentioned the opportunity that I had to speak in front of you today. And I was grateful that later this friend took the time to reflect on that conversation and sent a further email response. So I'd like to share that response with you as another perspective on this topic. Hi, Larry. After we talked yesterday, I was thinking more about your talk at Zones about PDGs and their leadership roles, and I wanted to offer a thought or two for your consideration. As you know, there aren't necessarily a lot of open roles for PDGs at the district level. And besides, the various committee chairs, et cetera, really ought to be filled by the up-and-coming leaders, right? We nod. That's the way we build depth, hopefully, in our district leadership ranks. Secondly, many PDGs don't have the time, energy, and or desire to go on to larger leadership roles at, say, the zones level. And again, there are many more PDGs around than there are openings, even at the zone level. There's PDGs everywhere. So that leaves the clubs. And that's where I think PDGs have a very important, even vital, role to play. We know that PDGs have acquired a lot of Rotary knowledge and know a lot of other Rotarians, and I think we should be using that knowledge and our experience to make our clubs stronger and better. Since my DG year, I've worked pretty hard to make our club better. Served as program chair for 3 years, newsletter editor, website manager, to name some of the jobs, active on the international projects, community projects, serving as the club's grants manager. Not glamorous jobs, perhaps, but really important to the club. After my DG year, I wasn't really excited about going on into zones work. I did serve as district grants chair for 3 years, but there really wasn't much left to do on the district level. That left the club, and when I looked around, and I'm glad my friend took the time to look around, I saw several areas where I thought I could really help my club. Too many PDGs seem to think that they're above helping at the club level, and that's too bad, because we know that things have to happen at the club level, or they generally don't happen at all. And perhaps at times in your Rotary journey, some of those sentiments are the same ones that you share. So that takes me back then to a time and place yesterday afternoon when we were here in this room and we were talking a little bit about membership and creating healthy Rotary clubs. And what a place that would be for an invested past district governor. While there's always opportunities to be involved in things like RLI, Rotary Leadership Institute training, club visioning, Interact, Rotaract, new club development, some of those things we talked about yesterday, correct? Let me suggest a couple of other quick ideas where clubs could really use your help. Membership leads. We are supporting districts and clubs in growing membership with an enhanced online membership leads program that screens, assigns, and tracks leads that come in through Rotary.org. I hope you knew this. These leads are sent to district leaders who are encouraged to quickly review them and assign the prospective members to the most appropriate club for follow-up. Seems pretty straightforward, doesn't it? We're certainly hoping that you will develop a system in your districts that will work best for your district, understanding that lots of people can be involved and receiving notifications, and that there's this interactive part of this process where people can, track the progress of these particular leads. Rotary International receives an average of 800 to 1,000 leads per week. Last year, according to Rotary's records, fewer than 50% of these leads were followed up on by districts, and less than 25% were assigned to clubs. Now we can do that. We can do that for people who already have expressed an interest. Ignoring these leads, who are individuals who want to get to know us better, is not only a missed membership opportunity, it is a public image liability. We're focusing on training and education. We can be better. It's time to be better. We can be helpful in that process. We can. It may be time, you knew what was coming, it may be time for a PDG in your district to serve as the coordinator of membership leads. That sounds like a pretty cool title to me. Rotary Club Central. A solid update just got launched in July of 2017. It's a new, fresh design. It's a new look. It's an awesome tool. And you know that President Ian is really trying to drive people to that. We need to help him. It's a much better tool. There's so much that can be captured. There's so much that current leadership wants to capture. You may know what I'm about to say next. It may be time for a past district governor in your district to serve as the coordinator of club engagement with Rotary Club Central. That'll take an even bigger name tag and badge, right? The coordinator of club engagement with Rotary Club Central. But I speak with a smile and I speak with a little bit of playfulness. But you know what? I think our districts would be better and we would be serving our clubs better if we had a couple spots like that. Ways to connect what we know of Rotary and the resources with the clubs that need them. Maybe, I'm about all out of ideas. You're happy about that. But it may be time just to go all the way back to the basics. How many times have you sat, many I know, at a district conference, and in the moment when those middle school or high school students are either participating in the four-way test speech contest or the four-way test essay contest, and you know that is the sweet spot of where we are and where we should be. And how well do we continue that? How well do we publicize that? How well do we share in that particular way the essence of what we are to the next generation? We have it in place. We do it. We don't do it one year because there's no chair. We do it. Let's share the four-way test with youth around our 26 districts. Finally, when all else fails, we go do something for someone else, right? We go lead a service project. So, in addition to the spirit that I get in my belief that I'm going to cleanse my bio of the last sentence about the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl this year, it's awesome to have as part of a bio the affiliation I've had for now 17 years with a project called Shoes for Orphan Souls. Now, many of you have heard that story. And I try to incorporate it every time I speak at a Rotary event because it's just indelible to me. And some of you have heard this story about that green glove. And today, for those of you that haven't, we'll save that for another time. Because there's more to the story. So, in our district, your districts have these as well, but we have what I would call a brand, which is every one of our Rotary clubs every year collects shoes, new shoes for orphans around the world. We just do it. Started 17 years ago. I think it's I really frankly think it's an excellent example of past district governor leadership. I've been asked to continue to chair that for 17 years. I'm the shoes cheerleader in our district, and that's a pretty cool title as well, I'll tell you. But one of the things I really like about that as I think about the topic today is that it isn't all that common, I don't think, to get 16 governors in a row to agree on the same project. Huh? I mean, that, you know, I'm glad it happens in your district, and I hope it happens in all districts. So that glove represents a couple of years of my life when I spent a couple of opportunities taking these trips for these service projects. And as many of you know, connected in two different places at two different times with two different children in two different countries, both named Victor. And it has had a powerful influence on me ever since. And I share the story that I've abbreviated just then, and then show that green glove because after all that I was giving and our district was giving in terms of shoes, one of these particular Victors walked up to me and he was so motivated by the fact that somebody had given him something that he wanted to give something in return, whatever it was, and he had nothing to give. So he went to the trash, right? And he pulled that green glove, that's the one, out of the trash in Guatemala and brought that glove to me as I was leaving on the bus that day. And you've heard me say, that that's one of the greatest gifts that I've ever received. And I know every one of you has something like the green glove, right? Which is part of the reason I think the story needs to be told, because we need to be reminded of those mountaintop moments. But what I haven't told you until today is the fact that about 4.5 years ago, I was asked, and very excited, not nearly as excited as today, right? But very excited about speaking to my own President-elect training seminar in Missouri, 3 districts, as I was the incoming director, right? I mean, I was looking forward to working with the team. I shared the message that day about the Victor story, shared the green glove, shared with the group, it's one of the greatest gifts I've ever received, shared with the group, I'd been carrying the green glove with me for the past 11 years at that time, and reminded the group, as I've often reminded you, that you just never know the opportunity that you're giving will give to someone else. After that session ended, and it happened to be the closing session of that PETS, an assistant governor in my own Rotary district came up to me, indicated how moved they were by that story, and then asked me a question that has pierced me about as much as that question that past district governor asked me in the nominating committee meeting some 18 years ago. I met this assistant governor in front of the podium, and the assistant governor asked me if they could have the green glove. And I didn't know what to do. Do you understand? But in the moment, for some reason, even though I felt I was giving myself away, my thoughts turned to how deeply he was feeling, and I gave him the green glove. Hopefully, as unselfishly as Victor had given it to me, I gave it to him. But I have to tell you, that was a really big deal, okay? But you never know the rest of the story. That glove had been a constant Rotary companion of mine for 11 years. But I didn't know the next special thing that was in store. 6 months later, we were holding our district conference, and at the end of a particular session where I was speaking about shoes, sharing the Victor story again, as old and tired as it might be, I noticed that the person moderating the session asked this assistant district governor to come to the podium. He proceeded to tell the crowd about asking for the green glove, and then he went on to say that his son was a professional sculptor. And he handed me, and I'm going to put it out here, and I've asked Greg to put this on camera. He handed me a sculpted hand, and that glove was on this hand. So now I have multiple choices about the greatest gift that I've ever received. And I was reminded, and I hope I remind you today, why it's important to keep giving ourselves away in service. All these experiences, from a few pairs of shoes in past district governor leadership. So, to close, because time is upon us, many of you who know me well know that I believe that some of the best messages in life are sent to us through children and through children's books. And I know in this setting that you've come up with at least one new idea. I know you've tossed all the ones I threw out, but I hope that it caused you to put one of those in your bank, and you are committed right now to go back and do something more in your districts with the next new idea. And the question becomes, what do you do with an idea? And so I have a children's book by children's author Kobe Yamada that helps us answer that question this morning. I hope you'll hear these words before I wrap up. What do you do with an idea? One day I had an idea. Where did it come from? Why is it here? I wondered, what do you do with an idea? At first, I didn't think much of it. Think about your own idea journeys as you hear. At first, I didn't think much of it. It seemed kind of strange and fragile. I didn't know what to do with it, so I just walked away from it. I acted like it didn't belong to me. But it followed me. I worried what others would think. What would people say about my idea? I kept it to myself. I hid it away and didn't talk about it. I tried to act like everything was the same as it was before my idea showed up. But there was something magical about my idea. I had to admit I felt better and happier when it was around. It wanted food. It wanted to play. Actually, it wanted a lot of attention, those ideas. It grew bigger, and we became friends. I decided to show it to other people, even though I was afraid of what they would say. I was afraid if the people saw it, they would laugh at it. I was afraid they would think it was silly, like I know you thought most of my ideas were today. And many of them did. They said it was no good. They said it was too weird. They said it was a waste of time. It would never become anything. And at first, I believed them. I actually thought about giving up on my idea. I almost listened to them. But then I realized, what do they really know? This is my idea, I thought. No one knows it like I do. And it's okay if it's different and weird and maybe a little crazy. I decided to protect it, to care for it. I fed it good food. I worked with it. I played with it. But most of all, that idea, I gave it my attention. My idea grew and grew. And so did my love for it. I liked being with the idea. It made me feel more alive, like I could do anything. It encouraged me to think big and then to think bigger. I couldn't imagine my life without it. Then, one day, something amazing happened. My idea changed right before my very eyes. It spread its wings, took flight, and burst into the sky. I don't know how to describe it, but it went from being here to being everywhere. It wasn't just a part of me anymore. It was now a part of everything. And then I realized what you do with an idea. You change the world. So, what will you do with this next new idea? It's been really fun to be Plan B today. I've got 6 thoughts for you as I depart for the next opportunities. Thank you for your service as a past district governor. In the words of Peter Davey, without the British accent, know that as a PDG you are valued and required to help our clubs to develop. Stay invested. In this time of Rotary's crossroads, don't give up on your new ideas, because you know what you do with an idea. You change the world. Recognize today there is more to your Rotary story. Start writing the next chapter. As PDG leaders in your districts, keep giving yourself away, because you just never know the opportunity that you're giving will give to someone else. Be an unbelievable influence as a past district governor. So let's go make a difference with PDG leadership in Rotary, the original social network. Good luck to your football teams today. Thank you for being with us. Thank you so much.
Bye.